So as women, we were always taught to justify our choices, whether that's doing things to make sure we're not selfish, trying not to disappoint other people, but also, kind of conforming ourselves to be more acceptable. And while in the past that would have worked, today, not so much. And a lot of the times when we go through different changes in life, you have to realize the people who aren't acceptable or accepting of your change, they're not meant to go on the journey with you, because the people who accept the change and who are willing to actually accept you for wanting to, become a better version of yourselves, they're not going to question your choices. Rebuilding your life isn't cold or careless. It's actually intentional, it's quiet, and it's self-respecting. And what some of those practice looks like, I'm going to break those down. And I'm going to talk about 3 categories of what, rebuilding and, growing your life looks like without explaining. The first one is setting boundaries. And this sometimes can be the hardest one to actually implement because you don't have to explain yourself. No is a full sentence when you go through your phase of rebuilding. I can't do it is a full sentence. A lot of the times we get caught in that trap that if we're going to say no to a situation or a question or a person or whatever it might be, we have to explain why. And you don't have to. The no is there for you. It's what is going to serve you. And a lot of the times we fall into the trap of feeling guilty because we want to explain why we can't do something or why we feel uncomfortable in a situation, when if the other person respected your boundary, a simple no would suffice. The second thing that you can actually put in practice is walking away from things that no longer serve you. And that could be relationships, that could be jobs, that could be situations, that could be your living situation, a state, whatever drains you and doesn't make you feel like your best self. It's okay to walk away from that without feeling guilty, because remember, you're not doing it for the other person. You're not doing it because you're worried about what people are going to think about you. You're doing it because it's the best situation for you. The third practice you can actually put in place is making decisions that align with your values. You have to remember, again, the decisions you make are not for other people. They're not to please others. In this journey of becoming that next version of you, starting over, changing your life, the only person it's really meant for is you. And you don't have to explain yourself to other people if they don't understand. Let them stay confused. That was one of the things I really struggled with, is really trying to get someone to understand my point of view. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they think. What really matters is what you think. What do you think about the decisions you're making? How does those decisions make you feel? And that's what actually really matters. The silence isn't emptiness. A lot of the times when we go through the silence and we wonder why is this time period so sacred, is because we aren't looking at it in the right way. And we have to remember, in the silence, it's moments of protection, it's moments of power. You don't really need to actually make decisions based on others' judgments in that silence, because the only thing you need to focus on is you and your own thoughts and what makes you feel the best. And there's a couple things that are benefits from being able to rebuild in silence. The first thing, reduce the risk of criticism. A lot of the times when we decide to do something, everyone has their own opinion on it. And they have their opinion because they're looking at it from a point of view of what they would do in the situation. But it's not their journey, it's not their growth, it's yours. So you have to make the decision on what is best for you in that journey. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can actually start going inward and connecting with yourself. Sometimes it might be hard to wean off of, the kind of questioning or opinions of everyone, because sometimes we grow to the point where we can't make a decision without someone else's opinion. And it's sad to say, but if you've gotten to this point and you've had to start over and lose everything, you realize how much you've used it as a crutch. So being in the silence, really appreciate it for what it does for you. The second thing it does is protect your energy. And this is a huge one, because when you want to do something, when you're setting your goals, when you're becoming this new version of yourself, a lot of people are going to have their opinions. A lot of people are going to say what they think is best for you. And it's because they don't understand what you're going through personally. And that's okay. You have to remember, everyone's going to make a decision based on what they would have done. Or you might have the friend that really understands and they give you the options, but at the end of the day, they're just there as a confidant and they really know you're going to make your own decision. And that's completely fine as well. But you still need to take the time to really reflect and go inward. So you realize building in silence, it really keeps you from having that crutch from the outside. And it now forces you to focus on you making those hard decisions, you making those big decisions, or even you making those decisions that you should have made a long time ago, but you were scared to do. And you give yourself permission again to actually take control. The last thing it does, it allows you to grow authentically. And authentically is such an opportune word there, because it really shows you that a lot of the times we can make decisions, we can become a certain version of ourselves, not because it's something that we want, but we're influenced by others. And then we're not our authentic self at that point. Small example of this, when I was younger, I wanted to be an architect. I did architectural drawing in school. I loved it. It was like my passion at the time. And obviously these things change over the years. But my parents wanted me to be a nurse because they just assume this is what is going to be the best decision for me, because they see this as the best decision for someone to actually do. And I could not be a nurse. I can't stand watching people in pain. My bedside manner would probably be horrible. But explaining to them what I wanted to be, it was kind of an uphill battle, because they couldn't understand that this is what my passion was. This is where I would put my energy. I wasn't going to choose a career just because it seemed like the right thing to do at the time, or maybe something they wanted to do in the past that they didn't get to do. But now I'm like their option to live vicariously through. And you have to realize you're not your authentic self in those moments. And it's so important to realize that in the silence, it gives you the opportunity to make your decisions where you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to apologize. You have to understand making your decisions on your change does not need that explanation. Your growth doesn't need an explanation. Okay, so I know there's going to be the question on what about the people who are asking, or what about the people who are curious about why I want to change? The truth is, your change does not need an explanation. And if someone is curious about it, it doesn't mean you're obligated to explain yourself. And two simple answers can be your option. The first one, you can just tell them, hey, I'm working on myself. I'm focusing on my growth. You don't have to explain why. You don't have to explain why you're choosing to do a particular thing. Or the second response can be no response. It's okay to not give them a reason on why you're doing what you're doing. The loudest form of self-respect sometimes is not saying anything. Remember, rebuilding yourself and your life is going to be a process, but because it's a process, it doesn't mean you need witnesses. That's okay. But start out by clarifying your values and what matters to you now, because what might have mattered to you and what values you might have had 10 years ago might not be the same values now, which is most of the reasons why you're going through the change or why you're starting over, is because the things that used to matter, or the things that you were chasing, they're not your priority anymore. So start by clarifying those. Next, let go of the approval seeking. Again, you don't need to explain yourself to others. You don't need to explain why you're doing anything or why you've made those choices. You have to let go of the need to constantly prove and explain yourself to others. The last thing is you want to surround yourself with the people who are going to support your growth naturally, because there is going to be some that will, and it might not be a lot, and that's okay. But those are the real people who are actually going to aid in your journey when, it's time for them to do so, without the judgment, without the criticism, or without the questioning. Surround yourself with those people and let them also be your support system when needed, because they understand, they're giving you your space to do so. And those are the people who are meant to be on the journey with you. The quieter you build, the stronger your foundation's going to be. You have to understand that you're going to look back and realize the peace that you've gained from letting go of the approvals is now your reassurance for your growth in the future. Growth doesn't require permission, justification, or any sort of explanation. Choosing to grow and rebuild yourself in silence isn't selfish. It's actually self-respecting, it's empowering, and it's powerful to you. The right people who are meant to be on your growth with you, they won't question it. They'll just understand that this is where you are and there's no explanation needed. If this video resonated with you, hit the like button, share, subscribe, so this video gets to the women who are going through their season of change and understanding that, or not understanding, but struggling on understanding why they don't need to justify their isolation and their silence. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Bye.